Well, we're nearly there. One last check on the teams. England able to select the same 15 that started so impressively against the All Blacks. The only change amongst the replacements. Willie Hines injured, so Ben Spence has flown in. This South Africa team is full of big, heavy battleships, led by captain Siya Kolisi on the brink of his own moment of history. Flying winger Cheslin Kolbe fit and back. All the sacrifices to get this far. Jérôme Garcès, the first Frenchman to look after a final, about to blow a whistle that he's had for 15 years. And the first ever Rugby World Cup final in Asia between two old powerhouses from Europe and from Africa. Andre Pollard with the long kick to the right, gathered in by Tom Curry. Man of the match against Australia, not far off it in the semi-final against New Zealand. Ben Youngs, England scrum half, just wanting a bit more protection from Kyle Sinclair before he launches that. He knew that Lou Diaga would be hunting that down. It's in the arms of Dwayne Vermeulen. The Springboks grisly, uncompromising enforcer. Team that is absolutely full of them. Here's another, Frans Malherbe. The first penalty conceded by England.
Yeah, it's a bright start from Ben Youngs, just making sure that he doesn't give away that charge down, but Courtney Lawes trying to go for that chop tackle, trying not to risk one of the high shots, gets caught underneath, can't roll away, and gives away a first shot for South Africa. We know they're going to base their game on taking points when off on offer. England have to be playing inside South Africa's half.
Yeah, that's a note for the referee. Jérôme Garcès blew the whistle very quickly there for Courtney Lawes rolling away, and England will be looking for that same consistency when South African bodies are lying on the ball.
So Andre Pollard kicked South Africa past Wales in the semi-final. 5 from 5, including the late winner. That's a nervy start. Before that semi-final, he had been a little wayward in this tournament, and from England's perspective, a moment of relief, not necessarily shared by Rassie Erasmus, South Africa's head coach.
Just nerves really with that kick, wasn't it? Snatched at it a little bit and just pushed it.
See how deep South Africa are lining up here. They're not expecting England to want to play too much in their half as well. This is going to get pumped really long.
Hammered along by George Ford, back to Pollard. Vermeulen and co leading that chase. First test under that high ball for Ford, and he's immediately swallowed up by green shirts, but lays it back on the white side for Youngs, and driven up by Tom Curry, watched by his brother Ben, who's flown in from Manchester up in the stands. Here's Makazole Mapimpi, such a threat, ball in hand. England will know that.
Kyle Sinclair's just been knocked out there. Clashed heads with Mario Itoje in the first tackle.
Sinclair still prone on the ground, and it's been seen by Jérôme Garcès, and these may be big early problems for England.
Unfortunately, he will not be allowed to stay on the pitch. You see he's still in a lot of trouble, but because his arm was up in the air, that's one of the signs of concussion that the independent doctor will look at. And you can see they're already asking for the doctor.
Let's have a look at this. This is where it happens. Is it Itoje's arm that comes round?
Maybe just the hip. You get a lot of these when players' temples hit the hip of the player they're carrying. You see a bit of concern there. The medics working. They are the best in the business, these medics. They do pitch-side care courses all the time for occasions like this, and just make sure that without being able to speak to him, they don't know whether he's done any damage to his neck or anything, so they will take every precaution necessary.
I know there are hundreds of people back at Battersea Ironsides, his original club in London, who will be watching this with some concern right now. And Dan Cole knows England's replacement at tight head that he's going to be introduced to this final much sooner than he'd have expected.
Just here on the ref's mic being picked up, the medic's talking to him. He's come round now, he's moving his right leg a lot, which is a good sign for those back home who are obviously very concerned about him. You just heard the physios explaining to him that he'd been knocked out. And they'll take a lot of time now. Difficult for all those other players as well, because you've been waiting for this moment to get into the game. It's only 2 minutes old. And now you've got to reset the focus again, almost start again.
Tendai and Tawawira, who will be scrummaging against Dan Cole fairly shortly. Ben, we're not clearly suggesting that England turning up late had anything to do with that accident, but how disruptive would the 20-minute delay have been to England ahead of this final?
Well, you'd expect it to be not ideal preparation, but that man there, apparently in the Six Nations, when they played Ireland away, deliberately turned up late to put his players under pressure in case it was something they faced in the future. So you talk about all those little 1% differences that when you come to your seminal moment might actually affect you or might make the difference. Eddie Jones is one of the best at planning ahead and trying to seek out every eventuality you might face.
And Ben, in that Ireland game away, my word, what a performance England put in. So it certainly served them with the right warm-up then. And sometimes when you arrive late, you know, it's just a question of just going through that warm-up nice and quickly, and you're ready to hit the ground running. But this is going to be a substantial delay now for both sets of these players. Just wonder whether they might start putting the ball through the hands.
Moment for Dan Cole. Only the great Jason Leonard has held up an England scrum more than he has. He's about to win his 95th cap in an area, Ben, that is absolutely critical to the outcome of this match. That scrum is one of the areas that South Africa will be confident of getting the upper hand.
It's a huge area, and let's by no means underplay this. Carl Sinclair has been one of England's stars of this tournament. This is a massive moment for England. Having said that, Dan Cole probably would back himself to be a slightly better scrummager. He might not do some of the flash stuff around the field that man does. Lovely to see him sitting upright and talking to the physios. It's fairly compos mentis, doesn't he? But the scrum's not an area that's going to suffer for Carl Sinclair going off and Dan Cole coming on. What England might have to do is ask a little bit more of Mako Vunipola with his ball handling and ball carrying ability, which this man has really taken the mantle on.
Well, it's wonderful to see him walking off under his own steam rather than needing the cart. And it's equally reassuring for England that they have an old warhorse like Dan Cole to come on so early in his place.
Well, he's a player who's really had to go away and reinvent himself a little bit. You know, a lot of people thought Dan Cole's international career was done and dusted when Eddie Jones left him out of the squad, but he did what all great players do. He took it on the chin, he went away, worked really, really hard at his game, and he's a much better player now.
The gap is perfect, it's my shoulder.
4.5 minute delay. But finally, one of the key areas of this match. We're hearing that, not surprisingly, that is a permanent change for England. First scrum, South African scrum. A massive area of the match.
See the beast in Tawawira there trying to get that leg drive going against Dan Cole. He's managed it, he's won a penalty.
Oh, and Faf de Klerk gets on with it. And here goes Mapimpi. South Africa playing with the advantage.
Play on. Ball is out.
De Toy. Whipped away to the fullback, Villy Leroux. Oh, he's curving his way through. Hunted down by Farrell, and Colby did wonderfully to collect a ball that seemed keen to evade his grasp. Here's Mtawawira. Pollard, oh, that's really nice, involving Mbanambi. South Africa have started this final wonderfully. Diaga gets it away. Kolisi, gathered in by Mapimpi, held onto by Elliot Daly.
Wonder if he's turned it over. Has he managed to?
As it's on England's side.
There's a concern in the eyes of Faf de Klerk. They've got the ball.
Well, it's a wonderful turnover. Daly's just managed to turn his man.
Vunipola taking the ball and the hit. England having to weather an early storm.
Back 9. Back.
Beyond Ford, and England living dangerously in their own 22, behind their own try line. But here's Johnny May. Takes it up beyond the 22. It's outside the 22, so England can't fire it into touch should they have chosen. Instead, it's Laws. Youngs, Ford. Now he hits it long, and Pollard was well positioned, scooting back to his 10-metre line. And again, Pollard chasing his own high kick. 10 on 10, taken by Pollard brilliantly, rolls away. De Klerk, here's Mtawawira, the beast. You will hear them cry around the stadium as he gets going. De Klerk. South Africa on their toes right at the start of this one. Leroux, oh, that's gone forward. And England will be grateful for the breather.
Oh, Billy Leroux's danders up, isn't it? He's running some great lines. That man in the air. England playing with fire a little bit. Here's the ball coming back. George Ford just a little bit static under it. That means his opposite number, Pollard, has all the aces. He owns the air and just stumbles afterwards. But England playing from behind their own sticks. You might think that's dangerous. But South Africa are putting so many bodies back, waiting for the kick. England felt we'll keep them honest for the rest of this game. If we run from our own try line, it means they can't afford to put so many bodies back, but they have to be more accurate, Lol, with their passing.
They certainly do, and we've seen probably more from South Africa in an attacking sense than we saw in the whole of the second semi-final last weekend. Make no mistake, yes, in their own half they're a kicking team, but boy, when they get into the opposition half, they're prepared to have a go.
The work again of Sam Underhill at the breakdown to win that ball back for England. And there's Billy Leroux. In a few degrees off his best here so far, but ever the threat. A couple of years with Wasps, strutting his stuff back home in the English Gallagher Premiership.
He's made a couple of mistakes, but there just looks like that air of confidence back about him, which is probably what disappeared towards the back end of last season for Wasps. He wasn't committing some of those lines and really driving for the ball and getting himself into the positions that he had done.
Now a second scrum. First for England was not a happy outcome.
No, and an important one now. Dan Cole will want to reassert his authority. Nice and solid. They've been under pressure.
Cole and Mtawawira.
Just got to ride this storm, Dan Cole. Mtawawira is such a powerful man, but as the fatigue sets in, that will start to dissipate a little bit, and that's when Dan Cole's technical ability should come back. But these 10 minutes or so now are crucial. He can't afford to paint a picture to the referee that it's him that's getting beaten, because that will then last for the rest of the game.
There was some concern in the South African camp that Jérôme Garcès, Lawrence, is one of those referees who is happy for the scrum to be completed, even if the front rows have gone down. South Africa will want to push as long and as hard as they can for as long as possible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've got their tails up. Referee Garcès gave both sides the benefit of the doubt with that reset, but you can see South Africa putting the weight through. Billy with a quick pickup.
No messing around again, though, the loose pass, and Ford and Farrell having to sort it out between them. Farrell took the responsibility, and it's a penalty for South Africa in front of the posts.
Yeah, Owen Farrell knows it. He had no choice, really, just ran into George Ford as Willie Leroux looks for the quick one, but there's a loose pass from Billy Vunipola, which put him under pressure and had to turn back inside. It's absolutely the right thing from the England 8. Pick up and go, but just take that into contact. Not sure they want to be throwing passes there. And look at this. Straight in over the ball.
It's a really good position Vermeulen gets himself into there, isn't it? He's a big, big man, very tall, but he drops that backside down, really splits the legs to get underneath the England clear out. Owen Farrell smiling as he got up. I don't mind that. England have to ride the storm. The finals are often not about what goes right, but how you bounce back when things are going wrong. They just need to keep calm, and they need some time down in the South African half.
final that's all about South Africa thus far, and South Africa lead by 3 points to 0.
I think given the amount of pressure that England are under, they'll probably take that 3-0. Pollard missed the earlier penalties, made amends under the sticks. Now it's England's turn.
Kolisi preparing to lift Luciano at this restart. Instead it was Leroux, and he was hit hard. England looking to gum South Africa in their own 22 for the first time. De Klerk got through an awful lot of kicking in that semi-final against Wales.
This will be something now England need to jolt themselves into life. Good field position. They're in South Africa's half. They can really feel they can attack now, and they've gone straight to a short line-up with Owen Farrell, the only man in at the moment. Here comes some support.
And Farrell peels round to take the ball and then give it to Youngs. A little reversal of the roles there. England moving things up a little bit. Oh, that's loose. And we played 10 minutes. England's World Cup final hasn't started yet.
Yeah, just unravelled there a little bit. You can see they're trying to do things a little bit differently. Owen Farrell taking the ball off the top, so he's part of the line out, setting Manitou Alangi straight up the middle.
That pass from Ben Youngs is pure frustration. They've called a move, they've worked on it all week, and he's wanted to go through with it when it's probably not on. He's tried the miracle ball over the top, just needs to settle. They might get another opportunity to run something similar later in the game. Just play what's in front of you.
Line out one by Eben Etzebeth, all 6'8" of him. And a toe chase on the ball. Oh my goodness. The clear out from Mbonambi.
Tells you won it, but then knocked it down.
De Klerk, Pollard, Dialende. Advantage being played here. Willy Leroux. Cheslin Colby then drops the ball, so back we come.
Yeah, Toji does really well initially to isolate the South African line out, and actually gets himself in a wonderful position to turn the ball over. He's been so effective with that. They disrupt the drive, look, and he gets Etzebeth on the floor. Just can't quite affect the turnover. Got to say the referee gave Etzebeth a hell of a long time versus Owen Farrell a couple of minutes ago.
Fans have just seen that on the big screen, and absolutely. Sometimes the referee will give you longer if your hands aren't actually on the ball. You're not making an effort to rip it off the man, but Toji clearly was there. Always looks worse than slow motion goal, but I think maybe that Etzebeth will feel he got away with one there.
Slow cadence.
You've got to be some hooker if you're keeping Malcolm Marks on the bench.
Yeah, the gap
and that's
is
what
fine.
Bongi and Mbonambi's been doing in recent times.
Well, Paul O'Connell was analysing South Africa just before kick-off, wasn't he? And looking at their set piece, and already, I know it's only 12.5 minutes, but already their set pieces had a big impact in this game.
Give me a good picture on your shoulder.
England front row, not prepared to go down if they haven't got a decent target to hit. Hooker and loose head Brock just closing the gap for Dan Cole.
Just watch South Africa hold the ball in there and see what they can draw from England. Garcès tells them that they have to get on with it. This is Damien Dialende, South Africa's most influential player at this World Cup so far. Faf de Klerk with a test for Watson, and he did well. Ford sensing some space, but again, South Africa standing deep. And Leroux happy to clear the ball anyhow.
Well, it's a really nice kick from George Ford. You thought for 1 minute that England might have had some numbers on that left-hand side, but George Ford deciding that England have had no field position in this opening 13 minutes and found some space in behind South Africa. and the kick, the chase was as good as the kick.
Yeah, it's a brilliant kick, because what you want to do in that instance is hit grass. You don't want it dropping into someone's hands, and he finds the space down the middle of the two backfield players, forces them to let it bounce, and as a result the kick is in a good attacking position for England. But they've got to come up with those basics Clive Woodward was talking about just before kick-off.
Well, it's not just the power that Eben Etzebeth and Lud de Jager will provide in the second row of the scrum, it's aerial as well. They're absolute towers, and England are not going to get free ball today.
Just wonder, Ben, whether England settled a little bit too long there before the ball came in and just gave South Africa enough time to read them. You just feel with these guys a quick line out, get it in and away nice and quickly.
Yeah, and England would prefer that tempo, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
Sometimes it's down to the hooker. If he's not 100% happy that the ball's completely dry, he'll just take an extra minute and see the ball boys there working on it behind the South African pack.
Okay.
85th cap for Eben Etzebeth today. Only Victor Matfield, the great Victor Matfield, played more in the South African second row. Eddie Jones, 50th test match in charge for him, England's first foreign coach. A little hooker back in his playing days, never quite good enough to play test rugby for Australia. There's a man who was good enough to play test rugby for South Africa. Rassie Erasmus spoke so eloquently this week about how he hopes this moment and sport might bring South Africa together for at least just a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days, forget the challenges they're facing for a while or two back home.
Well, he'll be delighted, Nick, with the way that his side have started this game. It was England's line out and maul that was causing New Zealand and posing the questions to New Zealand. It's definitely South Africa now that's just posing a few puzzles for England to solve.
Just expect South Africa to target George Ford with their carries as well. He'll make his tackles, but just because of the size of his frame, they will attack him, try and carry him in the contact. Diolande, Vermeulen from the base. Big men carrying hard.
Paul O'Connell, British and Irish Lions captain, is watching down on the touchline, and you've got a view on the way England are kicking at the moment, Paulie.
Yeah, despite what you may thought last week, England kicked the ball a lot. They kicked it 32 times. They played no rugby in their own half. They played so well in the opposition half, you may not have thought so, but I think they moved away from that a small bit, playing a bit too much in their own half. There's no need, not at this stage of the game.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. It's about field position, and it's all been South Africa at the moment. Scrum's gone down. Referee goes with South Africa. Went down on that far side.
Backward and then G. Back one, backwards and then G.
This time the pressure on Mako Vunipola.
Jamie George just reacting to the referee there. He's got to be careful how he approaches him. He's making a really good point. He said the ball's not in, so they shouldn't be pushing. But don't shout at the referee. Brilliant by May.
Absolutely fabulous to keep that ball in play, and then what about the kick? Well, that's about as good as England could have expected from the position they'd found themselves in 10 seconds before.
Yeah, look at this piece of skill in the air. Make sure he gets it back in play before the feet. That's wonderful, isn't it? And what a difference that is from having a line out 6 or 7 yards from your own line.
So Ben O'Keefe, the Kiwi touch judge, assistant referee on that far side, into the arms of Etzebeth.
Just deliberately holding Etzebeth in the air for a fraction of a second, trying to tempt England to go in underneath them. Play with England's timing and defence. They've come back well, England, after the initial surge from the box.
Now South Africa need to work hard to keep that ball alive, which they do. Here's Diolande. Try help beat Wales in the semi-final. Billy Vunipola has to get back on the white side. Etzebeth, 19 stones of brooding menace. And now the kick. Now another test for Johnny May. Oh, and he could feel Cheslin Colby hunting him down, and he didn't panic.
That's wonderful, Mark. He takes it quickly.
Corey Laws did so well to hold on to that. Youngs, his high kick. What about the England chase?
Oh, that's a penalty, surely.
It is. Because the player who caught the ball was in front of the bloke who knocked it on. That's the reason why.
And 18.5 minutes, and it's the first penalty that South Africa have given away, coming from a little bit of England pressure from the Ben Youngs box kick.
Clearly in front, you catch the ball.
Pollard, who went up, Peter Steph de Toy, who was in an offside position when he caught it. England have been battling for a toe hold in this final so far. They've got one here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting now whether they go for a full line out and try and get some driving play going, camp down here. They leave Mako Vunipola out in the back line. It's a 5-man line out. Billy Vunipola at scrum half to bind in.
Jamie George to Johnny May.
Offensive tackle.
Youngs, Jamie George. Here's Curry. Runs into Kolisi. Still England. This time they go down the shorter blind side. Look how quickly Faf de Klerk was up. That's an aspect of South Africa's defence that England will need to be careful of.
Yeah, Billy Vunipola did brilliantly there. Just bought a fraction longer on his feet. Knew he didn't have much support.
4-2 Laws. England just beginning to bang their own drums for the first time.
South Africa have got a player down there.
They have. Well. It's Mbonambi. So England have got a man over here if Elliot Daly and co can make the most of it. Mokanyo tries to slow things down. Billy Vunipola to his brother Mako with Mbonambi. Still receiving treatment just to the left-hand side. England go over the top of him. Here's Laws, tackled by Colby. That's gone forward. England penalty.
14.
Yeah, Colby comes in, hands on the floor. South Africa lying all over England's ball, trying to slow it down, and on that occasion they're penalised. Just wondered whether England had the overlap there, if they could have got the ball out to that left-hand flank.
Well, much better by England, who saw in those phases the challenge that South Africa will pose them that the All Blacks didn't last week. England not able to make as easy meters with the carries, getting stopped or even knocked backwards. And the key to that was Billy Vunipola's offload to his brother. When he was knocked back, held up, you can't have static rucks with these guys, otherwise they just get their defensive line set. You have to constantly be trying to move them. And they did that, and they got their first attacking foothold in the game.
This is Bongi Mbonambi, who clearly does not want to come off, but the South African doctors seem very keen to have a check that he hasn't been concussed in all of that. It's clearly not the decision of the player. These are very sensitive times for the sport around the world, and any suggestion that he might have had a head injury means that he's off for a dozen minutes to have it checked out, Lob.
Yeah, he got himself caught on the wrong side of the tackle, didn't he? And got one of Courtney Law's knees in the head, and of course the doctor has got to protect the player from himself.
Just to explain the head injury assessment protocol, Carl Sinclair was never going to be allowed to come back on because he'd displayed clear symptoms of someone that might have been concussed. There, the guy just lying on the floor. He'll have some baseline tests that he has to now go off and complete a head injury assessment off the field, away from the pressures of the coaches, and they will make a call whether he's fit to resume in 12 minutes' time.
Meantime, Malcolm Marx is preparing to come on. Not so long ago, he was widely regarded as the best hooker in the world, Malcolm Marx.
We need to get better pitches. They're driving through the mark before the ball's in.
But after the hit, you step back.
Franco Mostert, we saw stripping for action as well, so this is a real concern for Lude de Jager in South Africa, who are starting to suffer their own injury issues.
It's a concern for de Jager, but if there's one area that the South Africans are stacked with on that bench, it is world-class second rows. Franco Mostert, one of the best around. There's his shoulder, just gets tucked underneath when Billy Vunipola carries hard. That moment I was talking about with Billy managing to get the ball away, holding in 3 South African players, but he's in a lot of pain, isn't he?
So a man who will be playing for Sale in the Premiership in a while or so's time. Lude de Jager is off, and Gloucester's Franco Mostert is on.
Well, both these teams are having to deal with replacements so early in the game. We knew that it's going to be physical and attritional. It's going to be a real test of the bench. Already seen that in the opening 20 minutes from both sides.
England have done well to weather the storm, and they're level via Owen Farrell. England 3, South Africa 3.
Just wonder whether that'll calm England down, because they certainly had opening nerves, didn't they? Throwing passes that they wouldn't have thrown normally. Sure, they'll just be a lot happier now and settle down.
Oh, and then Maro Itoje hoisted high, but not high enough, and England knocked it on, and that is not the area that they would want to concede a defensive scrum.
Yeah, put the curse on them there, didn't I? I thought they'd settle down, but these are the basics. Just mistimes it, Ben, doesn't he?
It's clear the problem comes from here. Okay, so
Curry in behind, expecting that to come over. He's just misjudged it slightly. Difficult to position that pod in the right position every time.
Well, this scrum, as we thought it would be, David Flatman, is becoming increasingly important.
It's fascinating. Ball, they're whipping it away here and there, but now and again they're leaving it in and they're forcing England to scrummage. They're saying, well, you can take our power for 5 seconds. Can you take it for 10 or 15? And they've seen some change from it so far.
That's a good riposte from England.
That's not a penalty.
Penalty's been given.
That is not a penalty. South Africa have come up there and forced the issue.
Vermeulen took it away. De Klerk, South Africa with the advantage. Malcolm Marx repositions himself. Kolisi looking for a little bit of support to his left and to his right. De Klerk, and then Mostert. Two of the replacements involved. Billy LaRue, and here goes Mapimpi. That was forward, but we were playing the advantage.
I'll be interested to get your opinion on that, Ben, that scrum, because I thought England held that, and then it was actually South Africa that popped up.
I just felt when they were chest to chest, it hadn't been moving, but so they pop up, and then it starts moving. Maybe just that right shoulder dropping in and underneath from Dan Cole.
You go under the pressure.
But they are moving backwards. That's the side the referee's on. I think it was a better picture on the other side for England, but I just wondered whether Mostert being on not quite as big a second row as Luke de Jager might have hampered South Africa, but certainly doesn't seem to. But Mostert will give them a lot more around the field and a better line-out jumper.
Under the pressure.
Well, Eddie Jones hasn't had much to be annoyed about, has he, in the last 80 minutes of England's rugby, but he'll certainly be disappointed with getting level on the scoreboard and then suddenly letting South Africa straight back in from the kickoff. Got to get your basics right.
.25 minutes gone in Yokohama. England 3, South Africa back ahead, 6.
I guess, Lawrence, whether you agree with that scrum penalty, the South Africans have built that advantage in the referee's mind over the last 3 or 4 scrums. They were definitely on top. So those decisions start to go your way, even if us as English don't think they are. I bet everyone back in South Africa think it was a clear-cut penalty.
George Ford hoisting high down the middle. LaRue runs into George. Moores was there with the tackle. Ball's inside South Africa's 22, so Klerk can clobber this straight out.
He's made a decent job of that as well. I notice England kicking straight down the middle, trying to force South Africa maybe just to play 2 or 3 more phases, but de Klerk not messing around there. As I said before, that game plan is non-negotiable. None of this throwing the ball to each other in their own 22, just get it off the park, make England play from deep.
Number.
Short to the front to Laws, quickly to Youngs, who spins it along. England's passing is not as crisp as they would want it to be at the moment, or as accurate. What about this one from Ford? Oh, no. That is a centimetre too long as well.
Well, it's a poor kick from Ford, but look where he was when he took the ball. An agglomeration of forwards in his channel. And he's had to pick the ball through them. They need to be out of his way, clear the channel, and provide, particularly when that pass between scrum half and fly half not going particularly well. You need to help them out. Just misjudges it there, Ford. A little bit too much on it. He had to pick it up in traffic and spot his landing point and didn't quite get it right. But this could be serious. Maybe a good job that South Africa have two second-row forwards on the bench tonight.
Yeah, he's a tough man. He's looking in a lot of pain there with his shoulder again.
Yeah.
Chesley and Colby.
We just want to further contest the tight heads in and
Just wandering into a Boks committee meeting. Stepping Chesley back involved. He was missing from the semi-final with a sore ankle. It's one of those players, Lawrence, he's only 5'7". He was told he was too small to play test match rugby, but they didn't take into account that he had quicksilver in his boots.
They didn't think that he actually runs quicker sideways than most people do forwards.
Stay.
Evan Etzebeth back involved in this, and so much so he's the target at the line-out. Eddie Jones warned that South African history is one of physicality, intimidating physicality, and that's what they've been about in the opening half an hour or so of this World Cup final. Taken up by Damien Dialendi. Peter Steph du Toit. He's hit hard by Underhill. Trying one of those game-turning tackles. Dialendi, and then that was dropped by his midfield partner, Luciano And England playing on, and Faf de Klerk then getting involved, and it's a penalty for offside.
Well, it was just as well that did drop that from England's perspective, because they managed to create a little bit of an overlap down that left-hand side. All set from that man. Great line speed from Underhill there. Came up really hard. Du Toit's been one of the stars of this World Cup, and good to lay one on your opposite number.
Yeah, and I don't mind the fact that Mako Vunipola went hard, forced that error, because I think England have been standing off South Africa a little bit when they're carrying, almost planting their feet. It took Underhill and then Vunipola to force the error. They've got to back themselves, be really confident. There's the slap down from Faf de Klerk. But you cannot afford to let South Africa run into you and get momentum. England did it perfectly against the All Blacks last week. It's not quite been as strong in terms of their defensive line this week.
Nothing more serious than a dislodged contact lens right now for Mako Vunipola.
Very, really important, this line out now, isn't it? They've had two down in this half, and they've kind of wasted the opportunity to apply that pressure. You can only get that scoreboard ticking over if you build the pressure on South Africa, and it's important that England do that from this line out.
To Laws, Youngs. Malcolm Marx was up so quickly that he blocked the obvious route off, but England still have it. The speed of that South African defence at the moment, putting some question marks in England's minds. This is Jamie George. Franco Mostert wrestling all over him. Taken on by Billy Vunipola. Now Underhill. A little bit of room for the first time. Not much room, but a little. Curry. Marks again there. Curry has to wrestle it to the floor. Mako Vunipola thought about giving it to his brother, held on to it. Look at Peter Steph du Toit and Tuawera as well. And here goes Manu Tuolangi. It's pretty much the first time we've mentioned him. Here's Laws. England again, just developing a little bit of momentum. Where might it take them? Half an hour gone. Vunipola, Underhill was there, but Vunipola held on to it. Look at the scrap for the air over the ball. Curry Again, Mtuawira leading that South African defensive effort brilliantly. Laws once more for England. Etzebeth does what he can to hold him up. Curry's waiting. Instead, it's Vunipola. England within 10 metres. English voices urging them on. Vunipola. England within 5 metres. Underhill. A penalty for England. But there's much more on the table here. Van Eulen's all over it. Dan Cole has it. Youngs. Stopped by du Toit. Flipped away by Farrell. Ford. England still with the advantage. Courtney Laws.
Advantage white. One green,
Mako Vunipola. Billy Randt had to wait for the ball, which made the hit of Malcolm Marx that much easier. Tuolangi to Laws. Ford was there, but Laws couldn't get it away. Mako Vunipola. England 15 phases, 15 heavy bangs on the door. Billy Vunipola with the latest, but what South African defence? Marks at the centre of it. Itoje. Cole. Youngs has it. Du Toit peering over the top. Billy Vunipola waits. He's not got far to go, but green shirt still blocking the route. Now the backs. Ford away quickly. Daly over the top. It's going to take some work from Watson. Held on to by Billy Leroux. This is brilliant Springbok defence.
Still advantage played from the referee.
Still the advantage. But England have been knocked back 10-15 metres. Laws. Dialendi with the latest tackle. And then Faf de Klerk comes through. Ford, Farrell, flipped over the top, might open up here. Here goes Johnny May, Tuolangi to his left. He's got a lot of bottle green shirts to get beyond. 25 England phases. Every single one of them repelled by South African defenders. Daly, meantime, and that's gone forward. And the longest of advantages, but England will have the penalty at the end of it.
I just wonder, there's a lot of penalties being given away by South Africa, and quite a few of them are very, very cynical. And that's just not me looking through rose-tinted spectacles as an England fan.
No, Captain, I just have a look. Listen to me. Only one here by one green.
Just
only one.
England had
only
such a good
one here.
opportunity.
And the second one by number 9. Here and here.
Jérôme Garcès making the point that actually there were only 2 penalties, but
yeah, but only one penalty.
Owen Farrell emphasising Lawrence's
just
point.
they had an opportunity, and it just Ben Youngs made just the wrong call. Underhill ran off his shoulder really hard and tight, and if he'd just let him run and put it behind his back, England would have walked in the corner. But those are the moments that you don't always see. It's probably the safer option to give it to Underhill. But after that, England went through phase after phase. Brilliant Springbok defence. But the game just started to open up, didn't it? And that's what England want. They want to get out of this arm wrestle that the Springboks have made the first 35 minutes of this game and be playing into the wide channels with their back three.
All square in the final. England 6, South Africa 6.
Owen Farrell just making the point to Garcès that you're just allowing them so much time with their hands all over the ball.
Keep working hard, guys.
Really good work from Billy Vunipola. He could be the key really for England. That ability just to take the ball to the line, stay on your feet and get that offload away. We saw it twice in England's play.
Andre Pollard was practicing those restarts long and right an awful lot at their final training session yesterday. They clearly feel that's the pocket that England will find toughest to get out of. From Eulen. running into Itoje.
It's fine, the tackle.
And then into Mako Vunipola. De Klerk, Mostert. One of those who helped power Gloucester to the playoffs last year. Leroux. Again, the kick to contest, Daly. Underneath it, but he's lost out to Mapimpi. Itoje. Oh, that's on Etzebeth. Totem pole on totem pole. Tendai Matuawera impatiently waiting for the ball. De Klerk, Leroux, Pollard. Oh, and Pollard nearly through, and that was an important tackle by Courtney Lawes.
Just wonder whether England were held back there as they went to contest. Never mind South Africa.
There's Diolende. Just open up a little bit here. Kolisi to Mapimpi.
From the side, from the side. Yeah, from the side. So we come back here, penalty. From the marker. Holding on. And 7 green from the side.
Jérôme Garcès, who's had a good look at these two teams on the way to the final. He was in charge of England, Australia in the quarters down in Oita, and then South Africa, Wales in the semi-final last weekend.
Yeah, Leroux just pulling the strings and Pollard just breaking the tackle of Billy Vunipola, but the offload doesn't go to hand. But again, England get themselves level on the scoreboard, and they allow South Africa from the kickoff straight back into field position from which they're going to go for the poles again.
It's great work again from Vermeulen at that breakdown. He's caused England all sorts of problems tonight and in previous meetings. He's such a big man to shift once he gets in that lockdown position. Hurt himself in the process.
It's water or
It's got to be said, it's not an easy kick, this one, is it? It's on.
He has kicked them from this distance in the tournament. However, this will be right on the edge of his range. He struck it beautifully. And the direction was perfect. 3 Andre Pollard penalties. England 6, South Africa 9, as we bear down on half-time.
I think Elliot Daly could expect a few more tests with that high ball. It's clearly an area that South Africa have targeted, and they're getting a bit of change there, Ben, at the moment.
Yeah, and England not shifting from the game plan, not long left on the clock. They're going to try and turn South Africa over in their own 22.
Vermeulen had other ideas. Flies forward with the ball.
Use it.
Mostert. Tarawera over the ball.
Very aware of the clock, isn't he? Faf de Klerk, he's in no hurry to play this ball. Just trying to run that clock down.
Pollard went backwards, and South Africa now running it with Diolende. And this is wonderful from Oh, and he tries to chase his own kick. Bouncing ball. Not gathered cleanly.
No. Backwards. Thank you. Backwards.
Again, the frustration of England complaining about Faf de Klerk. The referee's absolutely right. He was running to the side when he spilled it.
Clearly backwards by 9 green here.
And just needed Mapimpi on his on his left shoulder, sorry. The winger hoping he was going to kick it down into the corner for him. And then Elliot Daly, the head comes up just at the crucial moment. South Africa get one more roll of the dice. Probably, if they're forwards now, we'll be saying, go on, let's just throw everything into this scrum. We'll hit and chase, it's our put-in. So Faf, just chuck it in as quickly as possible, and we'll try and win a penalty. 3 more points before half-time. Thank you very much.
Big scrum for England now. Got to hold out here.
Mine! Set! Stay strong! Stay strong! Strong! Don't move! Don't move! Don't move!
Moment this, big moment, and it's a South African penalty. And they will run it with glee, knowing that they've got the insurance of the kick at goal to come. Dielendi and who set the position up. De Klerk, Mostert.
Got to say, Ben, you called it absolutely spot on. You knew exactly what South Africa were going to do there. Clear dominance, Garcès said. 6 scrums, 3 penalties now against England. Obviously lost Carl Sinclair in the first couple of minutes, and England have got real problems with this set piece.
There's no way Vermeulen was going to let that out until his front row told him.
Got an element of "we told you so." We knew exactly how South Africa are going to play, and England have got a real puzzle to solve at half-time.
Back in 2007, in the final in Paris, it was Percy Montgomery who was kicking the points for the Springboks. Right now it's Andre Pollard. And England will have to do something no side has ever done in a World Cup final. They have to come from behind to win it at half-time. England 6, South Africa 12.
In that scrum to support a scrum that's been going backwards, and secondly, at times there's been the odd wobble at the line out. There's no one better to get that back on track for England in terms of controlling the set piece. He's also a bigger body maybe in some of those tight exchanges, because it's not really suited Courtney Lawes. We're used to seeing him running around making those extra set tackles.
George Ford gets the second half underway. Andre Pollard wallops it as far as Daly, back to Ford. Pollard waits, steps backwards, calls for the mark.
Yeah, the interesting thing, guys, is that Eddie Jones has made that call now. He hasn't waited another 10 or 15 minutes, because if the set piece carries on the way it is, the game will be gone from England. You've got to make that call now, and that's a brave and bold one from the England coach.
South Africa hoping to pull alongside New Zealand as world champions for a 3rd time. Carl Sinclair back on his feet, if clearly disappointed. Those previous 2 titles, 2007 against England and 1995, of course, historically, magically, against New Zealand in Johannesburg. And immediately Cruz beautifully found at the tail of that line-up.
Well, the other thing to add is you've now got the Saracens triumvirate. 2 second rows, and the hooker, both from Saracens. They're used to working together.
Curry lays it back to Youngs. And then Daly, who will be a Saracens player when he gets back home. Charged down by Sia Kolisi. 40 minutes away from his own moment of magic. Tuolangi. Johnny May. Kolisi again there, making the tackle. Underhill was the decoy, instead it was just a Ford, and now Mako Vunipola takes on Etzebeth. Ford, that's got some height on it. And it was well taken by LaRue.
Much better from England though, they won all the collisions, which meant a lot more time for George Ford to pick his spot with the high ball.
Elliot Daly told that he had time. Ford. England stretching it to Johnny May. Green shirts over the ball. Johnny May having to work hard to make sure that it's white ones who can use it next. Atoje. Ford, he was away quickly and hit hard by Du Toit. Curry tries to accelerate away to Watson. Ford.
Faf de Klerk came from about 30 metres in backfield to hit Ford there, flying out the line.
Vunipola to Underhill, tackled by Mostert. First half replacement for Luta Jager. Daly. Again, though, look at South Africa's defence. Up quickly, up in numbers. Vunipola to Vunipola. Ford lays it back to Farrell. Curry standing outside. Again, look at de Klerk. My goodness, nobody chases the ball quite as hard as Faf de Klerk.
England just need to stay patient here. As it's starting to kick off,
it's the two Sale players.
Yeah, England just need to stay patient. You know, they're getting themselves to an edge, starting to create some space. They mustn't just force it.
Where is the forward pass?
Yes, the South African defence is shutting the door, but you go through the phases, have belief, the spaces will open up, particularly as this game moves on.
It's the battle at the edge, isn't it? South Africa defend very narrow. So it's whether you can get around that in time before those players flying out of the line catch you. That will be the game. And it might not happen every time, but England will get a shot at this, and they have to take it.
Oh, this is really interesting because South Africa making two changes at prop. They're bringing on Vincent Koch and Stephen Kitsoff and taking off Amtoawira and Frans Mel Herbert. David Flatman will explain why.
Well, I think the scrum's been fantastic for South Africa. They scrum long, they left the ball in, they made England scrummage for much longer than they wanted to in that first half. I know Owen Farrell was talking to the referee, saying they're cheating, he's coming around the side. There was no cheating. England were out overpowered and overcome in that first half. It needs sorting. No surprise to see George Kruis on there. Joe Marler's body language, we're down here on the bench, myself and Paul, and Joe Marler's body language has changed. His eyes have changed. He's warming his neck up with the fitness coach. It's minutes till he's on, I think. This scrum needs sorting.
The threat that much fresher now with Kitsoff and Koch on. Tendai Mtoawira at the end of his 117th test. Maybe the end of his South African career, but South Africa right now winning the arm wrestle and winning it some.
Well, just what a statement from those two, particularly that have just come on. Koch and Kitsoff straight into a scrum. Exactly what South Africa wanted. And this is now taking the game away from England. That's the fourth scrum penalty.
You're right, Lot. This is the game here. Joe Marler immediately warming up. Marler probably the strongest scrummager England have. Really, really strong up top, but he'll be thrown on very, very shortly to sort this mess out for them. Neil Hatley, the scrum coach, just having a quick word with him now, just discussing what he needs to do when he gets there.
There's Vincent Koch, familiar face, back in North London, double winner with Saracens last season, Premiership champion, European champion. Right now you would make him favourite to become a world champion. England have got to do something about the forward dominance that South Africa have established. Just inside England's half. Oh, he struck it brilliantly. And these are uncomfortable echoes for England. Happy ones for François Steyn at the final in 2007. England right now being kicked to death.
Well, it's a wonderful penalty, isn't it? Look at that. Celebration for South African fans. England have got to strike back quick.
The next scrum, I don't think you'll find a bigger scrum for English rugby in the history of time. They have to come back at South Africa with Marler now on the field to replace Mako Vunipola.
Vermeulen runs straight into the arms of Joe Marler. Du Toit doing a good job of protecting Faf de Klerk, but the kick from de Klerk ends up in Johnny May's arms. Half-time replacement, George Kruis, invited to make a difference off the bench. And Vunipola. South Africans once more waiting for him. Ford. And this is George, held onto by Vermeulen. Goodness me, the work that Peter Steph du Toit is getting through at the moment.
They're just gang tackling England, aren't they? They're getting two tacklers to one ball carrier. They just smothered Curry. Third turnover for South Africa in the tackle, but it's all coming from their dominant defence.
I think they've given Peter Steph du Toit a free rein, that if he wants to fly out of the line, everyone will slot in behind him. But if he thinks he can catch someone man and ball and then hold them up in the tackle as he just has there, you go for it, we'll cover you. The referee calls maul, that's why they don't have to roll away. Held up with a choke tackle. They're so big and strong, the South Africans. They're tall, they want to go chest to chest with you and keep you off the ground until the referee calls maul.
Bill Beaumont, who's now World Rugby's big cheese, sitting next to one of English rugby's biggest fans, and Prince Harry probably looking as concerned as every English fan back home right now.
Yeah, looking very uncomfortable. 8th scrum here, and South Africa will do what they've been doing all game.
Much better from Marler, but he's been penalised for going on his own round the corner. He does change his bind. He goes very long-armed. See what the referee says to him.
You're walking around.
But just watch well, it's on the other side. Marler's arm comes up and straightens, and then he follows it, and you can see his left hip just step out to the side rather than going straight. You have to. We all know that props wheel the scrum, but you have to get them going forward before you wheel. You can't just crab to the side. England desperate with South Africa holding the ball in.
Stay on your side.
And part of that, Lawrence, again, is the mindset of the referee. He knows England are getting hammered at the scrum. So England are going to have to do it whiter than white if they're going to want to get rewarded.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the picture that's been presented to Jérôme Garcès.
Bongi Mbonambi, clearly not coming back. Malcolm Marx has been with us for a while now. Mostert driving in desperation because he knew England were going to win that ball back.
Yeah, England turned the ball over for the 3rd time. Just split the South African line-out drive, didn't they? Just managed there. Dan Cole just takes 2 or 3 out of the equation brilliantly, turns them round straight into the loving arms of Maro Itoje.
10 white.
Yeah, the sort of moments that can lift you. You can see Ben Young's trying to feed off it, get his forward pack excited.
10 white.
Another England change, and this is a very interesting one. Henry Slade, one of England's classiest players in Japan so far, replacing one of their best, George Ford. So Owen Farrell will step inside to fly half, and Slade will play outside Manu Tuolangi in midfield.
At the moment, Manu Tuolangi's still on the outside. I'm sure they'll chop and change depending on the move. But for this time, Manu Tuolangi's going to try and run a shortish line, I'd imagine, off Owen Farrell, and Slade hovering in behind.
Oh,
that's a better scrum.
Oh, it's only England's 2nd scrum, and that feels better. English shoulders this time on top.
Look at the cheer from the England supporters. Jérôme Garcès has rewarded them on that occasion. 2 little small victories for England.
Johnny May running 50 metres to congratulate them. He knows how important it is. Good from Cole. He takes that initial shunt from Kitshoff and then just dips underneath him and fires his own shots back.
Struck it perfectly. England 9, South Africa 15.
If England can find a way back into this game to win it, those last 2 minutes, the line-out disruption, the resulting scrum, and then the penalty. That will be what has changed this game.
Rising highest, the Toje came down awkwardly. Cruz protecting his old mate.
Vunipola's injured his knee. I think he's all right. He's going to try and run it off.
Youngs with the clearing box kick for Mueller. He's been absolutely immense for South Africa so far. De Klerk to Kitsov. Tackled by Marla. And there was a lot of pressure there. Farrell coming through, and Willie Leroux's fallen awkwardly. Here's his opposite number, Daly.
Perfect timing from Farrell.
Leroux's back on his feet, but he's limping a little bit.
Leave it now, Green! Move! Okay, good job. Stay.
Etzebeth extricates himself from the situation without conceding a penalty. Farrell pushing Pollard back, and then a little slip from Pollard, and then a tap of the ankles from Watson.
That's a penalty, without a shadow of a doubt. Curry's got himself in a wonderful position. Pollard slipped over and couldn't regather his feet in time.
It's Watson. Watson makes a tap tackle on him.
No green player.
Brilliant reaction from England's wing. Just watch this. Oh, there is a slip there. The tap tackle before there. There's the tap tackle. Has a little slip, and then as he's trying to recover his feet.
Captain is clear.
It's great technique though, Benny. Almost pushes Pollard back to the ground. Curry just uses it and then gets in that perfect jackal position, and what a few minutes this is for England. They've been hardly in the game, and suddenly they've got an opportunity to close it down to 3.
Yeah. Good call, Romain. But I wait. Never release the ball. Keep working like these guys. We did a really good job.
What about it? Not quite. Not quite. Going to go down to Paul O'Connell on the touchline for an observation in a moment or so. Let's just see what Andre Pollard and South Africa do with this 22 dropout. England still half a dozen points short. Taken by Etzebeth, and he got the ball out of the back to Diolende. De Klerk, Moster, tackled by Atoje. Faf de Klerk, and then Leroux. Oh, that's a nice kick. Forcing Daly across. And, well, Daly a little bit hurried. Let's have a word with Paul O'Connell. You're looking at England's kicking game again, Paulie.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see Ben Youngs kicking out there from his own half. He doesn't kick it off the field. They're trying to avoid the set pieces. They don't want to give South Africa a line out so they can maul and look for penalties against England.
Yeah, you can understand why. But what a kick from Leroux there. Found some green open space behind as South Africa go looking for another score.
Brilliant line out from the South Africans. Just quick play, picking up the tempo. This is a 8-man maul they're setting up. Dan Cole on the floor, penalty coming.
That was wonderfully set up by the Springboks, and now in front of the posts they've got a clean sheet of paper to try and work some more tails. To Colby, we've not seen much of him ball in open space, but England know about the danger, so does Johnny May. Only his second carry, it didn't take him far, but it didn't really matter because South Africa with the penalty.
A really good series of phases from South Africa to create that maul, put England under pressure. thrown easy ball to the front of the line out. Man standing on the floor, look, just go, catch England napping, hit up into midfield, and then look at them setting up off the next phase. Look at all those players dropping backwards. Oh, this is after it.
Yeah, they go to set up the maul, don't they, in midfield. And I think England are just penalised for coming in at the side and bringing it down.
Stan Cole was the original tackler, but because they had 8 bodies there, by the time he managed to bring it down, England had panicked and put an extra couple of bodies in there. It'd become a maul. You can't collapse a maul.
Andre Pollard, 6 from 6. Painful echoes for England of old Percy a dozen years ago. England 9, South Africa 18.
Wow, what a swing that was in the last couple of minutes. England could have closed it to within 3 and aren't able to take the penalty through Farrell, and South Africa goes straight up, and now a 9-point lead.
Oh, that was Manu Tuolangi coming up fast and hard on Vermeulen, and that hit forcing the error from the box, and now England have a kick in front of the posts.
16 clear from the side.
What a hit that was.
Timing is good, timing is good.
I think Dwayne Vermeulen just giving a little round of applause. He appreciates that. He's hit a few bodies in his time. Bang.
Yeah, timing is good. Yeah.
Talked an awful lot, particularly at the start of this tournament, about the high tackle and the threat of the red card. England's tackling consistently has been low and excellent, Lawrence.
Well, England's discipline has actually been excellent throughout this competition. They've really worked hard on making sure that you take that decision completely out of the picture by going so low. Nothing more better illustrated than the 2 flankers, really.
I think bar the Piers Francis one. I think they might have got away with that one at the beginning of the tournament.
That not so much. England preparing to bring on the hooker Luke Cowan-Dickie, and the Newcastle soon-to-be Sale back rower Mark Wilson. England back within punching distance. Best part of an hour played in the final. England 12, South Africa 18. England have made a change at hooker. Luke Cowan-Dickie's on for Jamie George. And Mark Wilson takes the place of Sam Underhill. And South Africa's changed as well. Eben Etzebeth replaced by the equally towering R.G. Snyman.
Oh, that was a great chase, wasn't it, by Colby? Billy Vunipola decided not to go in the air, and a split second to snatch that one away before Colby brought him down.
Taken by Vermeulen, thrown off the table.
Excellently done by Johnny May there. Talking about it earlier on, just timed his run to perfection. Doesn't allow him any space to get that ball away. Crucial line out.
And the first throw for Luke Cowan-Dickie, one of those charged with bringing extra fuel, as he calls it, off the bench. 20 minutes to go.
Brilliant take from Cruz under massive pressure from Snyman.
Mark Wilson herring after this. Where's Colby? He finally got his feet in the right position. And then Atoje doing what he could to reef it away, strip it away, but it's South Africa's and the toys to play with. Oh, Wilson's gone over the top, and he's told to give it up by Jérôme Garcès.
He's been watching South Africa do that all game, Wilson, so he's realised exactly what the referee's going to allow and not allow.
Garcès tell Wilson that he wasn't supporting his own body weight, that's why he had to give it up. May. Vermeulen amongst those getting his can opener out, but Billy Vunipola made sure that it remained England's ball.
Okay.
Farrell. And Tuolangi. Youngs. Farrell. A high one for Watson to try and position himself underneath, but that's well done by Willie le Roux. He's looked as assured in this match as he has all tournament for South Africa. Kicks off.
Yeah. The ball!
These kicks well placed to compete for, but Daly was in the end unopposed.
Touched the referee's assistants on with a flag. I presume that's probably to do with the kick chase being blocked.
14, white, change his lane and hit the players with the shoulder without the ball. 11, penalty there.
Okay. Obstruction by
Romain
14,
Poix.
white.
Anthony Watson picked out.
You can run back towards the ball, but you can't change your line. You can't step off your line to block someone. And you can see, absolutely right. Just goes across, eyes on the ball, knows exactly what he's doing. Great spot from Romain Poix.
It was Makazole Mapimpi who was prevented from making a challenge.
Interesting now, they've opted to bring the tee on and go for goal. He really is feeling in the groove in his own half.
I think the thing about it is they probably expect England, if he gets anywhere close to the post and it doesn't go over, to kick it back off the field and allow them to start again. They just want to be playing in England's half. They don't mind how it gets there, and if you can have a little shot at 3 right on the end of your range, it's worth the gamble.
Penalty against me. Really good, really good.
Goodness. This would be an extraordinary kick on the high veld at altitude. Yokohama, it'd be something else.
All the pace men have come into the middle of the field to chase this.
And you heard as soon as he slapped it that wasn't going to trouble the posts. Cleared away by Steyn. He did that very well. That wasn't the easiest ball to field. Firstly, he took it cleanly, then he cleared it long.
They've just wiped 2 minutes off the clock. The ball, they'll get the throw in on halfway line.
Who's the captain?
South Africa with a change. The captain, Kolisi, who may or may not be lifting a piece of gold above his head fairly shortly, has been replaced by Bath's François Lowe.
On the same line.
Well, if England have struggled at the breakdown already, life's just about to get a little bit tougher with that man. Absolutely phenomenal over the ball. And him and Vermeulen together.
Snyman. And Pollard again. It's been a familiar tactic. Daly coming up to try to gather it, but Mapimpi's there. Who's going to claim it? It's going to be South African ball.
Well, it's exactly the right tactic. They've targeted Elliot Daly in the air, and Mapimpi's come off better again in that exchange. Both going for the ball. Mapimpi's the one that takes it, and he gets the decision from Jérôme Garcès, but really good tactically from South Africa.
There's a man who, one of those players who grew up in a rural township in the East Cape. He used to walk 7 miles to school each day. It's not just Siya Kolisi who has his own story of growing up in the Rainbow Nation, but Mapimpi does as well.
Referee just explaining to the England players that because both players caught the ball together, the benefit of the doubt goes to the attacking team. South Africa get the ball, the England fans don't like it, they're booing.
Stay strong, strong!
Another big scrum. With over 15 minutes to go. South Africa away quickly. They want to get on with this. Twice world champions without ever scoring a try in a World Cup final. Feeling now that a try here would be a big one for either side. Marks, who came on in the first half for Mbonambi. Snyman, more recently, joined the party. Oh, Maro Itoje shoved out of the way. Pollard.
Did well, Maro, not to give away a penalty there.
Just wonder whether Pollard might fancy a drop goal at some point.
Oh, le Roux over the top, bouncing ball needs to be swept up by Daly. We're in a cobwebby old corner here, however. This is going to take some getting out of cleanly. Mostert was over that. Youngs. Peter Steph du Toit trying to restrict the distance, and then, oh, brilliant. Mark Wilson on Leroux. No way for him to move forward, but it's still South African ball. Marks beautifully away to Mapimpi, and now the chase over the top. Gathering it. Oh, it's back to Mapimpi. Brilliant. And the boy from the township scores for the Boks. And it might just be the World Cup.
Skinny. We just need to check if the guys.
Oh, just a stunning try from the Springboks. They can play flat rugby with no excitement, and then suddenly just burst into life.
What's going on here? Jérôme Garcès wants to check something with Ben Skeen, the TMO.
Just want to check whether he was in front of the kicker. Obviously that would deem him offside. So it's just a question of whether he was in front.
To confirm on-field decision is try. We are now going to show you the passes, and then we will show you the position of green 13. Here are the two passes.
What do you want?
That's okay for me. He actually checks his run on the outside, doesn't he? We shall see.
Where was when the kick went through? He's behind the ball. He's behind the kicker.
Jérôme, that's the best angle for you.
Nothing wrong with that either.
Just look at the pass.
For you, it's nothing clear and obvious?
For me, nothing clear and obvious. Stay with your on-field decision.
Okay.
Against New Zealand in 1995, against England in 2007, South Africa didn't score a try on the way to becoming world champions. They've got one tonight in Yokohama.
Oh, the little chip ahead, and they play a 1-2, don't they? How about this for a pass with Elliot Daly closing? Ben Youngs gets dragged towards Lukanyo, and when he gets it away, there's nothing that England scrum half can do to recover. The England fans don't like it. They've seen it on the big screen. I think they're being a bit optimistic.
Oh, it's a long way back for England now. This try has given South Africa some real breathing space.
Well, it's a wonderful piece of skill. Look at that. It's just just knows that Pimpy is just there on his left-hand side. Look at what it means to Erasmus. He knows that could be it.
It's fine or not? Stay on.
Atoje chased down by Lukanyo who played such a role in that Springbok try. Again, du Toit. Change at fullback. Willie Leroux's off. François Steyn is on. Here goes Youngs. Oh, and Colby's got it, but it was lost forward. England will have the scrum.
13.
Just thought for 1 second if he actually went to intercept that, didn't he? So no problem there for the referee.
He gets two hands on it.
Yep.
Ben Youngs just causing problems there. Maybe if he just show him when, he could have put it behind Cheslin Colby, but they're all what ifs at the moment for England.
You feel that England needs something from this next passage of play. They're to find a way back into this final. Got to hold this scrum first.
That's François Steyn, a winner from 2007, the only survivor from either side that day. He kicked a penalty in Paris. What can Billy Vunipola and England do to change this picture? Tuolangi.
Guess who catches him? Peter Steph du Toit, been an absolute tyro in defence tonight.
Wilson takes it on. Vincent Cox over the top. Oh, it's a penalty for England. Taken quickly by Youngs. He knows that the players around him can't touch him. Watson, what's he got in his tank? Tripped up by Steyn. Marler waits. Instead, it's to Atoje. Tries to shuffle it along to Tom Curry. Checking for a knock-on. Ben Skeen, the TMO. Meanwhile, England continue to build. There was a knock-on, so they will build no longer.
Well, that's a good spot from the referee. And the TMO just lost control of the ball at the crucial time when they were building that pressure and that momentum, and it's been a story of the match, really. They've not been able to just build that pressure on South Africa. The first time they get into that 22 after the run from Anthony Watson. Just that little knock-on there. Wow. Could almost argue it wasn't one, but only if you're English.
Again, it's Peter Stefsetoit sliding in onto the tackle, just not letting Watson settle on the floor. But taking on the big forwards with the handling on the outside, then that chip over the top of Vunipola. Youngs can't match him for pace. And then Pimpy, just a walk-in for him.
I mean, two wonderful pieces of skill there. The Pimpy knows exactly what he's doing. It's on the outside of the boot, puts it in there for just to catch it and give it back to him. For all their kicking, it's South Africa that come out with a lovely bit of skill to give us our first try of the final.
11 white.
England change.
11, where is 11?
Johnny May, at the end of his World Cup. Enter Jonathan Joseph. Fought his way back from serious injury, a couple of ankle operations over the last 18 months for precisely moments like this. There's an awful lot to do, however, for England with a little over 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, so Jonathan Joseph's gone to outside centre, Manu Tuilagi slides into inside centre, Henry Slade back to fullback, and Elliot Daly out to the left wing. A lot of changes. England need the footwork of Joseph to create something special, but first of all they need the ball, and that's down to the forwards at this scrum.
Just can't give South Africa an easy out. Stay strong, exactly, stay strong.
Cott happy to have all the shenanigans here just to wind the clock down. He'd be happy with 3 resets here as long as he doesn't give away a penalty.
Well, it's almost been a tale of the match, isn't it? This set-piece scrum itself. 12 scrums, 6 penalties, 5 to the men in green. I'm sure they'll be trying to eke another one out here, Ben.
Cott will know the desperation of England trying to turn them over. He'll use that against them. Goes flat onto his stomach.
Ireland skipping over the top of a pile of players. And then the long rock to provide the insurance for the peroxided faff to clear long. He's not been the freewheeling spirit that we often see back home in the Premiership. Team have kicked the ball away an awful lot, but we've seen his quality again tonight.
Well, the way that South Africa have played this game up front, as Ben said earlier in the piece, he's been the perfect foil for them, really. Been an absolute nuisance when England have had the ball and just pulling the strings when they haven't.
Once again, England running into a 2-man door committee. Cowan Dickey, Youngs, Farrell, Daly on the wing now. His usual club position, but that's been lost in contact. Daly's limping, and Steyn, who's got an enormous boot on him, fires it back to Farrell, who was expecting it. It's close to drifting forward, but England get away with it. Henry Slade took it in.
Again, it's just so slow.
A bloodied Billy Vunipola to Cruz. Vunipola 18 carries now. Joseph, what magic perhaps from him. Once again, no way through. Damien Violende has been colossal in that South African midfield. Marler Tempted out of retirement for this.
These are all static rucks at the moment for England, allowing South Africa to set that big green wall up in front of them. They need to be moving them about.
England shuffling it to the left and the right and losing it, and South Africa will have a scrum. Du Toit and Colby will hope for much, much more. Colby looking to finish it. Colby finishes it. The scenes here in Yokohama, imagine the scenes back in South Africa. Once again, rugby bringing a nation together, just like it did when Nelson Mandela was watching.
Well, Colby's the player that finishes it off for South Africa, but it's about defence dominating attack. England, desperate measures, throwing the ball around, one-out runners, but South Africa, as they have done all evening, have been superb defensively. They've got the padlock on England. They shut the gate here. Slade just hit too hard, and South Africa turned the ball over, and then this is the little magician that you want the ball to end up in. Just takes that little step off the right foot, and he's got too much pace for Vunipola. Look what it means to him, and look what it means to South Africa.
Looks like all in the world when he throws that little hitch kick in. He's going to accelerate and try and do Owen Farrell on the outside. Farrell overcommits, and bang, he steps off his right. That is one of the best finishes you'll see, and he saved it for the biggest game of all.
Well, that image of Nelson Mandela and that man, François Steyn, in the bottle green six shirt, shaking hands at Ellis Park all those years ago, is locked in the imagination of a generation. All of us lucky enough to be there. Everybody who watched it on TV will know what that meant. But very shortly, Siya Kolisi, the first black player to ever captain the Springboks, will lift that World Cup. And these are extraordinary times, not just for sport, but for South Africa as a whole.
Well, a wonderful, wonderful feeling for these South African players as they have the last 5 minutes of this game. They know that that is the final nail in this England coffin, and rather like England against the All Blacks last week, that was so dominant. South Africa have been superb today.
England once again in full retreat. Ben Spencer, who last weekend was watching the semi-final, now into the final. It's a lost cause, and South Africa thoroughly enjoying themselves, picked up in the end by Anthony Watson. Curry. Vunipola. Joseph. He's got some footwork of his own, but again, England having to work from deep. Look where they're having to operate.
Well, they're trying to run out their own half. They know they've got to throw everything at it, but it's just a dominant defence again. South Africa just got that green wall up in the line.
Joseph, again, the defence up quickly, and it forces the mistake from Tuilagi.
That's the story of the game. That the scrum and how good South Africa have been at the breakdown, led by their captain, led by their whole back row that have outperformed a very, very impressive, if throughout the tournament, England back row. And that man there, who's just been awarded the man of the match, Duane Vermeulen, has been absolutely huge.
They've just turned the screw, haven't they, Ben? Right from the minute that Carl Sinclair went off. We didn't know how significant that was going to be in the second minute of the game, but it's proved to be very, very significant. South African scrum has dominated right the way throughout. 5 penalties from that, and they've just turned that screw all the way through this match.
In the meantime, Faf de Klerk, who will head back very shortly to be re-employed by the Sale Sharks, replaced by Herschel Yankees. My goodness, what scenes. Yankees' first job to feed this scrum. A pocket-sized scrum half. 5'5" of him. Standing next to the colossal Duane Vermeulen. It's Vermeulen who picks up. Yankees isn't far away. Mark Wilson doing what he can to stop this green tide. Snyman. Cock.
They'll just pick and go now and then drop back in the pocket, maybe for the drop goal.
Here it comes. Pollard. No, not quite. It's not fluff much tonight.
It was closer to the corner flag, I think, than it was to the post, but
Pollard's 22 points, incidentally, not yet a World Cup final record. Matt Burke, who's here tonight, back in 1999, scored 25 for the Wallabies. But he's not far away from equalling Burke, and England at the moment unravelling. He knows, Rassie Erasmus knows, and the engraver knows. How about that?
There's a lot of people that were talking about how South Africa played coming into this match, and wasn't necessarily easy on the eye, but you've got to give them credit for the way that they've constructed a game plan. They've been absolutely magnificent from start to finish. It's a game that's been based on that forward power led by that man, the dominance of the set piece, and they've just strangled the life out of this England team.
We were all nervous coming into that game because we knew it had come down to who could impart their game plan and their style of game on this fixture. We knew England had to play fast, they had to keep it away from these big bodies, allow them to get through and cause problems, and South Africa have been magnificent.
And they're running it once more with Pollard. Colby remains the threat in this near right-hand side. Snyman hit back hard by Marler. Vincent Koch. In the end, just one game too far for England, who were magnificent on their way here, particularly a week ago against New Zealand. But South Africa have taken it up another notch tonight in Yokohama. And at the centre of it, this man, Peter Steph du Toit.
Leave it wide! No, wide! Leave it!
Kits off. He made a difference when he came off the bench. Loose head prop. The tight head prop might be about to get it next. The Saracen, Vincent Koch, he will own the bragging rights when he goes back to London. Seconds nearly up. Once again, rugby at the heart of the Rainbow Nation.